Afternoon, everyone. Well, first large round bale fed out here on the ranch. It's been a long time coming. We are at max capacity on small square storage. We're up to 11 head now, 11 head of Dexters. It's just not enough storage to even grazing late into the winter. You know, we're getting close to, we're a couple days away from January 1st. I still need more small square barrels than I have space for. So I went with large rounds this year and I got 8. So like I said, this is the first round bale we fed out here on the ranch. This unfortunately is not the first hay that we have been feeding. I did not last as long as I wanted to this year as far as grazing, and January 1st is always my target for continued grazing. I'd like to graze stockpile through January 1st. However, we have been in a severe drought. Very, very dry around here. We haven't had measurable rain since beginning of August. So I have been feeding small squares because, of course, the minute I got to the very last grazing cell for this back 2.5 acres here, which is always the last piece that I graze every winter, simply because they have that shelter over there, so when the weather starts getting bad they can go in that shelter. The next day when I would have started feeding hay, we started getting moisture, finally moisture in the form of snow, sleet, rain. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was steady for about 3.5-4 days. I think we ended up a little over an inch by the time it was all said and done, and we are behind over 2.5 inches. So it wasn't enough to bring us out of the drought, but it was definitely enough to get the really hard, dry ground nice and soft, nice and muddy. And I just knew that I wasn't going to want to drive this tractor on my pasture when the ground was muddy, and I really don't want to have the cows hanging out around a bale for an extended period of time when there's a lot of mud. Now, obviously, I don't have much of a choice. The whole reason why I got round bales and small square bales instead of just getting all rounds is, you know, come March mud month, in late winter when we're getting ready for spring, when they're not ready to graze yet, the cows are still out on pasture eating hay. You know, feeding hay on pasture is great for your soil microbes. It's great for the health of your pasture as long as you're not beating up the pasture too much. Come late March, early April, and it's going to be soft. And I knew I definitely would not be wanting to drive a tractor with a large round bale and have the cows hanging out in one spot while they're eating the bale when when all that frost and freeze is coming out of the ground. That's when it's really, really muddy. So I need to save some of my small squares. In fact, I need to save a lot of my small squares for that time of the feeding cycle. So I have fed already about 35 or 40 small square bales. Some of that was fed just over the grazing season, as I had to buy a little bit more time before I moved them to a new pasture. But a lot of those bales were fed over the past week and a half, however long it's been that we've been feeding hay. So I couldn't not feed these rounds anymore. So I'm really excited to see how long this bale lasts me. Now, my guy said they were about 1,800 pounds. Obviously you have to factor in some wastage, and I'm gonna have a lot of wastage. I don't have a hay ring. The plan is early in the morning, probably once every couple of days. We'll see how the ground does, but when it's still frozen from our 20s and low teens overnight temperatures, I wanna get out here with the tractor, I wanna spear it, and just move it to a different spot in the pasture. So it should be about 9.5 days. When I was doing small squares, they were getting 4 small squares a day which my small squares are anywhere from 40 to 45 pounds. So we're talking 160, roughly 160 pounds of hay a day. Again, I factored in waste. I just took 1,500 pounds. Could be less, could be more, but 1,500 pounds divided by that 40 a day should get me about 9.5 days to feed this group, about 120 pounds of hay a day. Excuse me, 160 pounds of hay a day. That 160 pounds of hay was factored at 2% of their body weight. We'll see if I get 9.5 days out of it, but like I said, I'm gonna be moving it around every couple of days to make sure that they don't really destroy the ground. And then obviously your best course of action is to roll that hay out, unroll that hay. You know, a lot of us who follow Greg Judy see him do that all the time. That just spreads the animals out. It spreads out the manure, the urine. It spreads out, you know, any impact on the soil that the animals are gonna have. However, with only 11 Dexters, even if this bale is 1,500 pounds, even if this bale is 1,000 pounds, I can't really roll out half a bale or 3/4 of a bale and then take the rest of that bale back to an area that the cows can't get to. So in my opinion, you really need a herd size that's capable of eating a full round bale in order to roll it out. So the other thing too is this pasture, as soon as the cows can get off of this pasture, they will not be back here on this 2.5 acres for quite a long time. I'm already kind of seeing them beat up the ground beneath their hooves, and this thing has been out here for 30 minutes. So I wish the ground was still really dry. You know, it's wishing for rain all year and you finally get it. And then it just comes at the wrong time. But what can you do? You know, the ground will start freezing here really soon. I think we have another couple, 4 or 5 days of 40-degree temps, above freezing temps during the day. But the ground just needs to freeze, and I think I'll be all right. But like I said, I'm not super. Obviously, you don't want to compact your soils ever. But it's not like the cows are going to be on here right away in the grazing season. This 2.5 acres is always the last to be grazed in the grazing season, so it'll have plenty of recovery, plenty of opportunity to get some growth on it, and hopefully you know, repair any soil damage that goes on this winter. All right, guys, that's it. I'll keep you posted on how the hay feeding goes. Yeah, I hope everyone had a good Christmas, and I hope everyone's going to have a good New Year's. So any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, you know the drill, leave them down below, and I'll talk to you guys later.